Welcome to Whitemoss Youth Club. This is the first podcast that we'll be doing, and this is Johnny Biggs. We're just going to have a chat with my dad, John Biggs. The date is the 25th of February 2022. We're just going to start off on the early years of Whitemoss Youth Club. So, before it was Whitemoss Youth Club, or the boys clubs, it was situated somewhere else. Can you tell us a bit about that, Dad?
Yeah, of course I can. I'm John, sitting here in the office at the youth club, and we can go back when we started in what everybody knows as the old tin hut, which was the old St Mark's Church at the back of Whitemoss Shops, and it was I was there in 1958. It actually opened in 1956. We took the church on. That closed and they got their new church, so we kind of had that twice a week, but we used to pay an old penny to go in. Do you know what, we got a biscuit, we got a cup of tea, the old morning coffee biscuits, if you can remember those.
And was that juniors or seniors or a bit of both?
That was both. It was more kind of the 8-9-year-olds that were, and teenagers came in, so yeah, it was a mixture.
And what was that the place actually inside St Mark's? Because for me, I've never been in there because obviously I'm not old enough. But for people that maybe don't know like I do, what was inside the building?
It was just a main hall, which used to be the church. That everybody used to attend on a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Sunday school. That kind of closed down, and it went into the new premises. And it was just the main hall we had, where we had a snooker table and table tennis table, and we used to sit down playing chess and drafts, dominoes and things like that. And you know, on a Friday night, I can always remember and go back to when I was 10 years old, we used to have to sweep out the water off the floor. It was wet all the time, but you know, we stopped it. All the health and safety went through the window.
Was that a flat roof as well?
No, it wasn't actually. It was an apex roof, and
Right.
there was still.
So there's still problems.
It was a very, very old building, been up for years, and there was leakages in it. But we took it on. Didn't cost us anything. The church paid for it.
Yeah.
And we just paid our little subs to go in.
And who run the club at the time? Who had the idea of running it as a youth club?
Well, it was Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, Jim and Ethel, who started it with some people called Graham Ball and a few others who took an interest in offering the service as a boys' club. It started off as Whitemoss Boys' Club, and then when we came over to our new premises, then it changed its name to North Manchester Boys and Girls Clubs.
So who had the idea from going from the tin hut to this club that we're talking now?
I always remember Mr. and Mrs. Elliott were the things that kept me going, and they were the ones that actually started the club.
So they had the idea.
They had the idea. Let's have some new premises. We're getting all the children, young people in. Let's have something new for Whitemoss, and that's when we raised the money. We went on that Mancunian walk and raised money, and it cost £17,500 to build the club. We were over the moon, and I took the job on full time then.
So as I was only a kid when I seen Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, so I don't really remember him. As a couple, I'd love to have met him. What was your opinion of them both?
They were, Mr. Jim and Ethel were so passionate about the club. I always remember our first nights here in Southdown Crescent. Jim and Ethel were the ones that got coloured television on the estates, and we used to always go round to listen to and watch Top of the Pops in colour. And then from there we came down to the youth club, and Mr. Elliott used to always stop till 9 o'clock because he was off to Ferrantes where he worked. And they kind of got me where I am today. The support that they gave me, and then eventually getting the full-time job when I was 21.
And was the other people up for that job at the time, or was you just the one that said yes, I'm taking that, or I'll go for that?
No, there was a guy called Roy Firth. He was the one that took the job on full-time, and I was assistant leader at the time.
And what was he like?
Roy was fine, but I think different avenues opened for him, and he then went to another job. So Manchester Education Committee said John seems to be enthusiastic. Let's give him a job for 3 years. So we got the funding and got wages. And don't ask me how much wages I got at that time. I can't even remember that. But certainly the money that they paid, I put much more hours in than they paid me.
So as we rely on volunteers now in 2022, what was it like in 1967? Was you reliant on them, or was it a bit of mix of both?
No, I think from day one, we've always relied on volunteers, and there's always been volunteers around. And so many names that I couldn't come up with: James McNamara, John Dunn, Derek Byram, Lon Norton and Shirley Norton. They were all volunteers, and it was just their enthusiasm that got us where we are today. And without those volunteers from way back, the Whitemoss wouldn't be where we are today. It's a great kind of thing for me to sit here today and say well done to them. And we've kept the flag flying, both myself, Johnny, and the recent volunteers.
And if there was 5 things in the 60s that you did at the club, what was the 5 most favourite things that the members and staff did in the club? I know it was basic, it's just a TV room on there in the gym, but I suppose you made up your own stuff to do.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things that stand out for me because I got the Mancunian Award, Mancunian of the Year Award, through my volunteering. And going back, we visited the Lake District camping on a Christmas day, and who shall we meet is Donald Campbell, or the late Donald Campbell, up in Lake Coniston. Those are memories, and we were over the moon when we got one of the Manchester City inner city grants, they called it, and we got kind of £56,000 to put new windows in the club, having a new central heating system, which is the same today actually, from 1991. It's the same, but we've progressed, and the volunteers have been a legacy that Whitemoss can say that we have.
The thing that I look back on when I see pictures from your days is the youth hosteling. Why did that all stop, and why does it not happen today? And do you think it'd be good for the kids now to do what you did back then?
Yeah, why does it stop? Because I mean, I've grown older, and my kind of commitments are different since I got married to Muriel, and lots of others change. Lots of things change over the years, and youth hosteling at that time was one of the in things. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and when I think we took a group of about 10 children away for youth hosteling up in the Lake District, and we walked 10 miles each day to different youth hostels, and the cost was £9. We budgeted £10, but the cost was £9 for a week's holiday for the membership of the Youth Hostel Association and everything else. And I gave the £1 that they saved, I gave them all back to the children. I said, with that £1, you go and buy your dad and mum something to take back home. Yeah. As a memento.
So how did you get transport down there? Was it train or bus?
We got a train up to Lake Windermere, and then we walked from there to different youth but a lot of work in advance had to be done, and that's what I had to do, is book the youth hostels for different days of that particular week in August that we went during the school holidays. And touch lucky, we had a fabulous week, a really memorable occasion.
And from the 1967, when the club opened, what was Charlestown like compared to now? Is it good, worse, better, is different, or what sort of things made Charlestown tick back then?
I think what made Charlestown tick was the community, the enthusiasm from the volunteers, the enthusiasm from the families. It was only today that I got a phone call from one of my old friends, Anthony Dillon, to say Terry Day had died, passed away sadly. He was a guy back in the late 50s that I used to know, and we used to go up the hills, Tangle Hill. We used to cycle from here, from the club up Tangle Hill, and it's memories and people like that that made the
And
community.
he did say as well, he fostered 100 children,
Yes,
which I didn't know.
yeah,
That's amazing to do that.
Absolutely.
That shows you what kind of person he was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
He was-
unbelievable.
Yeah, and even the company, the metal company that he worked for up to about 3 or 4 years ago, they're at the moment donating £100 every month to us as a little bit of appreciation, putting something back into the community. So yeah, things have changed. We've lost a lot of businesses around us, like the ICI used to be here, Ferranti's, Mather and Platts, British Aerospace. I mean, they've all supported us in their own little ways. Children in Need have been absolutely tremendous for us over the years, right from 1975 upwards. The fencing around, the perimeter fencing around the club was funded by Children in Need. My wages for 3 years was funded by Children in Need. So we've got a good kind of repertoire with Children in Need, and thanks to them, we've progressed as years have gone on.
And if the club wasn't here, I know we've just got a 25-year lease, but I know a lot of youth clubs have closed down. We were looking at that trophy up there with all the names on, and quite a lot of them have gone now. Are these communities a lot worse off for not having youth clubs around?
Well, I mean, the club here, I mean, many people come and visit us and they said this is a place that we could do within our community. But you know, it's the people within that community that makes the club, not just the building. It's those people, those volunteers, those families that we kind of work with. They're the people that make a centre like this at Whitemoss. I remember the days we've made the Boy of the Year, Girl of the Year. We've got Susan Rice, we've got Danny Grant, we've got Ashley Carey, and such a lot of people that have come through the club. I'm so proud and honoured that we've done something for the community of Charlestown. Without the club, I dread to think how Charlestown would be. They need a place like that, and lots of communities need it. And when I worked for the youth service and they closed that down, it was a bad thing for Manchester that we lost a lot of youth clubs, a lot of good workers that were dedicated and passionate to youth service work.
So it's really important to keep these places open.
Absolutely.
The heartbeat of the community,
Yeah,
I think.
we've got to keep it going. Money's got to keep coming in. It's been hard work. We've been on walks, we've done sponsored walks, we've tried all sorts of things. We're working with Boggart Old Clough, with dear old Maurice down there, and she's kind of doing things for us. The trustees are helping us. We need a few more trustees that can be passionate about the area. After quite a long, lengthy time, Steve Pearson, our accountant, resigned.
Thank you.
Retired, I should say, rather. Retired. And thanks to Steve, all that work that he's done for us, getting the accounts in ship shape with Karen Heapy, and we've sent them off to the Charities Commission. We've done all that, and now Kathy Morrison, she took over the leadership of the Treasurer, and she's doing a sterling job.
So if there was one wish that you could have as a legacy, what would that be for the club? Would it be to stay open, or
No,
would it be something else?
It's got to stay open. It's got to stay open as a youth and community centre. The reason why I've just negotiated with the city council and the Boys and Girls Clubs our new 25-year lease. It's got to be a legacy within Charlestown that is needed for the community.
Thank you, Dad. That's me, Johnny Biggs, and my dad, John Biggs, who's been here since man and boy, same as myself. So it's a generational thing. So thank you very much for listening.
And do you know one thing where I met Muriel? She was a club member here many years ago.
That's right.
We're together still. Sadly, she's had a stroke, and but we're trying to coach her better, and she's at home now on peg feed and everything. But we are trying to.
What was that transition like when it was just the boys' club? Because it was at the time the boys were causing the trouble in the streets, and then the girls wanted to come in. How was that for you? When they're knocking on the door, wanting to come in.
It was funny because as Mr. and Mrs. Elliott started as a boys' club up back in the church, in St. Mark's Church, and then we came to the youth club on Southdown Crescent. It was the reason we called it North Manchester Boys and Youth, youth meaning boys and girls. So we took away that boys' club stigma, and we started straight away in 1967 with both boys and girls coming into the club.
It was fairly early then, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Mrs. Griffiths, she was behind the tuck shop, and she was absolutely brilliant. Mrs. Murray, Mrs. Edwards. No messing about.
Well, that's what they need. You need to know. You can't cross that line.
Yeah.
You need to have, because some of these kids don't get that at home.
No. I mean, use your manners. If you want serving at a tuck shop, say thank you, please. There we go. And that's what we try. Simple words, simple, things that should be natural for them. Just to say.
But some of these kids don't get taught that at home.
Unfortunately,
so it's down to us to.
Well, I mean, the schools should be doing it.
Partnership work.
So it's working together, and let's hope that we're going to leave a legacy for Charlestown, and lots of people will be envious of what we've got here at Whitemoss. When you think of the things that we've got, the studio, music studio, the sensory room, the computer room, the gym for football, for boxing. Look at Jonathan trying to get a boxing academy for Whitemoss. Let's get the thing built. Let's get the extension there. Let's get an academy coming from Whitemoss. Good luck with that, Jonathan. We're here to help you to get the funding. And the allotments, the sensory garden, the memory garden for Pete Woodruff. What did he used to call Pete? Pete the Bot. That was his name. We've got a little memory garden that we've designated to him.
And Pete is, and we talk about the early years. Pete used to come as a kid. A lot of people would know who Pete is. Pete the Bot. What was he like as a youngster?
Well, Pete had a few learning difficulties, but he was always here religiously. He was here, especially to the music, the dance nights that we used to have, the disco nights. He was always here. Loved his music. Could tell you every tune, what year it was made, and who sang it. He was that well up in music, and there's credit to him. And he sadly passed away. But it happens in life, unfortunately.
We still remember him with the garden, don't we? Just like Roy.
Keeps us going, Roy. Good old Roy Williams,
Right, thanks, Dad. We'll finish this now. Thank you very much for listening. God bless.